On August 29th, 2025, Makassar's Parliament building was suddenly engulfed in flames, lighting up the night sky and sending shockwaves through the city. The fire was not an accident. It was the result of mounting anger and frustration that had been simmering for weeks. Furious protesters, driven by a sense of injustice, set the building ablaze as clashes erupted with police outside. The chaos quickly spiraled out of control, and the flames became a symbol of the people's rage. In the aftermath, 3 people lost their lives in the fire and 5 more were injured. Emergency responders rushed to help, but the devastation was overwhelming. The entire nation watched in disbelief as the heart of their government burned. For many, it was a moment of collective grief and disbelief. This was not just an isolated incident. It was the latest in a series of protests and unrest that had swept across Indonesia, revealing a country pushed to its limits and teetering on the edge of crisis. Eyewitnesses described the scene as total chaos, with people running in every direction, shouting and searching for safety as the fire raged on. Some, trapped inside, were forced to jump from windows to escape the inferno, risking everything just to survive. The Parliament building, once a proud symbol of democracy and hope, was reduced to charred ruins, a stark reminder of broken trust and shattered dreams. When citizens resort to burning government buildings, it signals a crisis that runs far deeper than politics. It points to wounds that have not healed and voices that have not been heard. In the days that followed, Indonesians gathered in candlelight vigils, mourning not just the loss of a building, but the loss of faith in their leaders. The nation was left asking, how did it come to this? And is there hope for healing? Now, the challenge is to truly listen to the anger that fueled the fire, to address the root causes, and to find a way forward so that such tragedy never happens again. The trouble started when lawmakers received a large sum of money for their housing, a move that quickly drew public attention and criticism. While the intention may have been to support officials, the timing could not have been worse. This decision made Indonesians very angry, especially because regular people were already struggling with extremely high prices for basic goods and fuel. The cost of living was rising every day, and many felt left behind. For families who could barely afford to buy enough food or gas, the lawmakers' allowance felt like a huge insult. It was as if those in power were ignoring the daily hardships faced by millions. The money for housing showed that the government was not connected to its people. Many saw it as a sign that leaders were out of touch with the real struggles happening across the country. Protests soon erupted, with crowds demanding that the policy be changed and that lawmakers be held more responsible for their actions. The public wanted answers and accountability. The money problems were real and the anger was building up, waiting for something to set it off. People felt their voices were not being heard, and frustration grew with each passing day. What began as anger about money quickly turned into a movement against corruption and unfairness. The protests became a symbol of a much deeper dissatisfaction with the system. The housing money problem was just the start. The country was losing its patience, and the sense of injustice was spreading fast. Soon, a tragic event would ignite the situation, pushing the nation into a period of unrest that no one could have predicted. In Jakarta, the problem got worse, and the city's tension was almost tangible. The streets, already filled with frustration, were about to witness a tragedy that would change everything. Afan Kurniawan, a 21-year-old ride-hailing driver, was killed by a police car during a protest. His death sent shockwaves through the city, touching everyone who heard his story. People who never met him felt the loss deeply. Afan was just like every Indonesian, trying to make a living, working hard to support his family and dreaming of a better future. He represented the hopes and struggles of millions. The hashtag #JusticeForAfan spread quickly on social media, uniting people from all walks of life. It became a rallying cry for justice and accountability. The movement brought together a whole generation demanding answers. Young and old, students and workers all stood side by side. The protest changed in both size and spirit. What started as a fight about money and wages became a battle for fairness, responsibility, and the right to be heard. The energy in the streets was different now, more determined, more united. Trust in the police, which was already weak, completely broke. The crowd's anger was now mixed with fear and disappointment. Afan's death became a reason to gather, bringing thousands more people into the streets. Vigils and marches grew larger every night. The government's trustworthiness was now on the line as more citizens questioned their leaders' actions and promises. The movement now had a face, a name, and a cause that could not be ignored. Afan became a symbol of hope and change. Everything was ready for protests across the country. A new chapter in Indonesia's history was about to begin. After Afan's death, protests broke out all over Indonesia, from Jakarta to Bali. The movement grew. Students, workers, and families demanded fairness and an end to corruption. Their demands were clear hold people responsible for Afan's death and for the lawmakers' greed. Most protests were peaceful, but in Makassar, anger turned into violence. The burning of the parliament building was a desperate act. It showed that peaceful requests had failed. The tragedy made the national crisis worse, forcing the government to do something. The world watched as Indonesia's leaders faced a big challenge. Would they listen, or would the division get bigger? The future of Indonesia's democracy was uncertain. President Prabowo asked for a full and open investigation into Afan's death and the Makassar fire. Police officers were arrested, which was a rare step towards holding people responsible. But rebuilding trust will take more than just arrests. It needs real change. The protests showed that Indonesians will not stay quiet when faced with unfairness. The challenge now is to turn anger into helpful changes, not destruction. Indonesia's future depends on making people believe in democracy again and closing the gap between the people and those in power. The sad events in Makassar and the death of Afan Kurniawan must never be forgotten. They are a call to build a country that is more fair, united, and responsible.